live.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Kind of Funny's Lord of the Rings in review. That's right. We are ranking and reviewing every movie in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the Hispanic heartthrob, Andy Cortez.
Good morning, everybody.
The big dog, Kevin Coelho.
Oh.
Man,
The
that
producer?
camera looks so good, Kev.
I know. Look at
Doesn't
Kev
look
testing
great?
out new
Yeah.
cameras for us. You'll love to see it. We got the producer / seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Andy, which way is Mordor? Left or right?
Left. Okay.
And once again, joining us is Elise Willems from Funhouse.
Hoo.
There you go.
Got
it.
You know what,
Get
Kevin?
you in the
That's
zone.
Elise's now. You can't have that anymore.
Okay, yeah.
Like I was saying, this is Lord of the Rings in review. We do it every Friday here on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames live. Every Tuesday, we're doing the Kevin Smith View Askew Universe in review, which is going to end next week. So next Tuesday, the final episode where we will do Jay and Silent Bob reboot. And then next Friday, we're going to continue on Lord of the Rings. We're splitting the extended edition every episode into half of the movies, part 1 and part 2. So this is Fellowship of the Ring, part 2. Next week, next Friday, we will be doing Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, part 1, aka One Tower. So just watch One Tower. Make sure you don't get ahead of yourself there. We are very, very big fans of giving you opportunities to watch this or consume this content however you want. So you can watch it later on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com. If you want to listen to it, guess what? You can do that too. Just search for Kind of Funny reviews on your favorite different podcast distribution channel. Shout out to our Patreon producers, Muhammad, Blackjack, Al Tribesman, and Connor Nolan. If you want to be one of them, or if you want to get the show ad free, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunny.
Kono.
Your boy Frodo?
No, Kono.
No,
Kono.
Kono. I thought you just shouted out Frodo.
No,
So Frodo didn't work.
at least we give all of our Patreon producers nicknames.
We give some of our Patreon producers
in our Kind of
nicknames.
Funny universe. And Connor Nolan, the best name we came up with was Kono. So that's his alias name.
Clearly we're not right.
The other name was what? Connor Dowd or something? Some weird Connor that Greg went to high school with. That was the best. That was the most creative we could be during this historic period in American history. That's all we got.
Pretty terrible, yeah.
I want to give a couple shout outs here before we get into the plot and all the fun of Lord of the Rings this week. I want to give a shout out to Carter Harrell at No This Is Carter on Twitter, who did the music for the intro, which is super awesome. You might have noticed the video is the same, still Cameron Kennedy, but the music of the intro we played is different and it's super rad. So shout out to Carter Harrell for that. Another shout out once again to the master of facts himself, Kebabs, who in the description made a massive PDF with insane amounts of trivia, way too much that we can get in this show. So if you want even more nerd stuff, get in there. And then a new segment of this show that we're introducing from the Lord of Corrections, the Faz on Reddit. He went in and did a Kind of Funny You're Wrong analysis of our show last week.
I don't like that one
And
bit.
normally I would be like, I don't want no part of this.
thank you.
But he did a very, very, very good job actually kind of answering some questions we had. And so I was like, from now on, if you're watching this, the Faz, it is your job and your job alone to on Reddit give me these posts. And because I don't
Like if you want
the
to,
moment
though,
you open
right?
the floodgates, everything is going to be correct.
That's
And I
not how
understand.
you.
We
That's
make
not how
mistakes
you
all the
pronounce
time.
Gandalf. It's Gandalf.
Listen, guys.
As far as I'm concerned, whatever we say on this show becomes canon going forward. Okay?
I've heard,
If we
I heard
say
Peter
that
Jackson
orcs,
say that was
if we
an
say that
option.
orcs are just a love child of a goblin and Saruman, then that's all it is. That's what it is from now on. That's in the Silmarillion from now on. Do you understand me? We are the new
Do you
Silmarillion.
understand me? I'm going to read this shit, though, guys. Okay, here we go. So the One Ring's powers. Kevin wondering about why people would want the ring. It's very nuanced and kind of vague, but its primary effect is amplifying the owner's natural gifts and abilities.
Yeah.
If the ring bearer had innate influence on others, may it be dominating, Sauron, enthralling, Galadriel. Galadriel.
Yes, this is a correction. There's going to be a correction of the correction.
Y'all can correct me.
You know?
Rousing Gandalf or inspiring Aragorn. This will be intensified. Also, the more powerful the character's will, the more magnified it will be, but also a worse effect of corruption. So why does I'm not even going to do this. Galadriel.
Galadriel?
Galadriel.
Yeah, you got it.
Crushing it,
There's
dude.
too many syllables.
Just call it
Galadriel.
Blanchy.
Yeah, I'm going to go Blanchy from now on.
Don't
Refuse
no,
to-
do not
Blanchett,
call
I
Kate
love
Blanchett Blanchy. I refuse to let
Why?
you
That's
do
so
that.
perfect.
Because she is Kate Blanchett. She's a perfect human being.
Look,
And I
Stanley
would kill
Tucci's
all. I
the
would
Tucci.
kill all three of you, but at least you. I would not
Here's
kill
the
you.
thing.
But the rest of you guys,
if
I would
we
kill
act
her.
like she's our friend, she might become our friend.
That's what I'm saying. Don't call her Blanchy. That sounds
That's
like
why
what
would
we'd,
she-
that's what we'd call
that's
her.
the same if you on a salad.
Let's go have some brunchy with Blanchy. See? We're friends already.
You know what? You sold me. I'm in.
Okay.
Why would she refuse the ring if it amplifies her goodwill? She would try to use the might of the ring, as described, to overthrow Sauron. The ring is pure evil and taints everything it touches. She may not become evil incarnate, but her fear and likely outcome is she becomes the savior and new ruler of all bow to her will. It might be better than Sauron, but is it really a true victory? There are also some more obvious powers, such as longer lifespan and invisibility, as we have seen or not seen, depending on your perspective.
That's
Next
so
up,
good.
geography of the Shire. I know Nick was joking, but to clear things up, Bag End is Bilbo's house. Hobbiton is the town where Bag End is located. The Shire is the wider region. It's probably easier to think of it as state, as it's unique individual to just be a country, but it would also be a small state. The Shire was
I
founded.
nailed that. I said the Shire is like the
Yeah.
county, and
Yeah,
like
we're
the
like
Hobbit town's like the city. That's like a.
We don't need
I
to be
know if
wrong
it's
that
a
you're wrong,
state, though.
guys.
I don't know how big the geographical nature of Middle Earth is. I guess we could
Nick,
Google that. But
Nick.
if it's as big as a state, I'll eat my hat.
Nick, right now you're fighting the Lord of Corrections. You need to chill out.
I apologize, Lord of the Corrections. I bow to thee.
The Ringwraith Nazgul name. I know the guys were mostly joking around, but to clear up any confusion, Nazgul is their proper name in Black speech, and Ringwraith is the closest translation in the common tongue.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Whenever
And then-
whenever a movie has common tongue, like I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Morgul Blades effect. Morgul Blades.
Morgul.
effect.
Yeah.
Prevailing theory is that the Morgul blade normally poisons someone who will succumb to it over years and simply die. But in Frodo's rare case, he's quickly becoming a wraith from the Morgul blade because A, he's a ring bearer, which has a wraith effect over long term anyway, and B, part of the blade broke off in him. So it's a combination of both.
Yeah, the
That
blade was
sucks.
in him, huh?
Yeah. Then jumping through the origin of orcs here. Guys are rightly confused on this as it's not made clear. Tolkien couldn't make up his mind on the origin of orcs, although the majority of people do accept them to be the first corrupted / tortured elves and later
That's
bred
what
by
I
other
thought.
means, as we see in the movie.
They say that in here. Yeah, they do clarify that in part 2 of this.
Yeah.
Again, no clear answer on the difference of orcs and goblins, but it does seem he probably meant for them to be the same thing. Uruk-hai are at times suggested to be Urks crossbred with men, but this isn't defined either. Not great answers here. Sorry.
Tim,
And-
does Jay-Z mention orcs in his verse in Monster?
No.
'Cause he
Orcs
mentions
do not. Goblins. The goblins
are
get a
in
shout
there.
out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Orcs,
What
not
about
so much.
Uruk-hai?
Uruk-hai, no. I don't know about that.
Has Jay-Z seen Lord of the Rings?
I guarantee Jay-Z has seen Lord of the Rings. I love that
Do you
idea.
think he
though.
thinks it's
We're
better
just
than
watching.
Clerks?
Guaranteed.
Probably.
All
Yeah.
right, come on, Nick, you're on my
Guaranteed.
side. All right, let's just keep the joke going for God's
I
sake.
don't see Jay-Z. I don't see Jay-Z watching Clerks in all of its choice language about people and being like, "Yeah, I can vote for this movie."
And then the final one here is the Numenorian. Tim asked who the Numenorian are, and some of the guys say they're just men. It's more than that. They're an ancient civilization of men, the most advanced and mighty of any men who ever lived. Long story short, Numenor fell, so they came to the main continent of Middle Earth and founded Gondor and Arnor. They are the men of the last alliance who fought Sauron at the start of the movie. Over the years, their blood was diluted through the generations, breeding with other tribes of men to the point where they barely exist anymore. The most pure-blooded left are the Rangers of the North, including Aragorn. This is why he lives longer, is more powerful than ordinary motherfuckers. I
He's also
editorialized there a
Dunedain.
little bit.
That's so hype.
So there you go. That's it. Thank
What were you
you.
gonna say, Elise?
I just said he's also Dunedain.
Oh, Dunedain. Yeah.
What the hell does that mean?
What's
We'll get
Dunedain?
into that later.
So, guys, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Part 2. What do we think?
This is a good movie. You know what I mean? This is a good half of a movie. Great
So
half of
hype.
a movie.
Yeah, together this movie really slaps, dude. And this is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like, I think that this is a perfect like first act to a film, and especially you were talking about yesterday or last time we talked about this, how it could have ended at the court scene. There's multiple moments here that are so hype that it could have ended, but I love where they chose to break this up. There's a great line at the end of this, and I'm going to probably slaughter it. So let me see if I can actually find it real quick. But it's when Frodo's like, Sam calls out to him, and he goes, I have to do this by myself. And Sam goes, I know. That's why I'm coming with. Like, it's that knowledge of like, you're not, no matter what, our friendship is going to like, is parallel to everything. Like, I'm coming with you. And that just like gets me right in the heart every time he does that, you know? And then
Yeah, I
the
love
dumbass
the,
wades out into the middle of the water, even though he can't swim and dies.
I love all the added stuff here for sure. Like again, this is my first time really watching this as an adult, and I just don't remember a lot of this. But and I think we get really awesome backstory and more dialogue between Aragorn and Boromir.
Yeah, I love that. I love that
and I
relationship.
think that really forms out that arc a lot more completely. So then when we see the betrayal and then when we see the redemption, it all just feels better. It feels more like developed, and it's just it's awesome, dude. It's awesome.
and
Yeah,
it's so cool too. Oh, go ahead, go ahead, Elise.
I was just gonna say, Andy, Boromir saying what he says to Aragorn as he's dying.
Yeah.
It gives it so much more weight.
Yeah.
And I love that we see, because you asked the question like, okay, obviously we know, but why doesn't Cate Blanchett's Galadriel character take the ring? And it's because, well, you see what it does to a normal human, right? Even not even touching the thing, getting near it, it corrupts him. And we get to see that experience play out over the first movie with Boromir, who is actually a pure of heart guy, but getting closer, he's just too weak to deal with the power of the ring, and immediately gets violent with Frodo when he gets the opportunity to take it. So you see that, and then it leaves it to the imagination of what it would do in the hands of like Elrond or one of the more powerful elves, or even if Gandalf had taken it, what would that look like? And then also we get that unbelievably haunting scene where Cate Blanchett's character looks at the ring and becomes the thing that she would become if she took it, and it's like a ghoulish ghost-like being where you're like, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I'm pretty scared. So that makes me think, don't take this ring.
Your voice sounds scary.
It's scary. And I'm short.
Something that I'm really appreciating watching it this time, and even though we're watching it in 2 parts, I've been breaking it up, even those parts, into another part, just because it is so dense, but it works so well because these movies feel, especially the extended editions, and I don't know if the theatricals feel this way as well, but it really feels like chapters of a book, and that would make sense with how faithful an adaptation this is. But I feel like there's constantly cliffhangers and constantly things happening that, like, there were so many moments that the movie could have ended there and I would have been like, that was hype as fuck, I can't wait to see what happens next. But then it keeps building to then have, it kind of feels like a season of a TV show where there's the episodes that have, like, around season or episode 3, around episode 6, around episode 9 there's gonna be something, but episode 10 is really like, we're gonna fucking like end this thing. And it's that combined with the fact that the level of quality is so consistent across every like plot point that they're hitting, that I am super into this. I think it's very cool, and I cannot wait to watch the next one, which I am shocked, because going into this I thought the Fellowship was kind of like it just sets things up and it's not really that cool. This shit's cool as fuck.
Yeah, it's got a lot of great hype moments. And it's got a lot of good humor in it too. There's that moment where they come across the door to Moria, and he's like, I got this, and then they cut forward like 3 hours and he's still trying spells on it, like, oh god.
And then Pippin's like, nothing happened.
Can I say, I love that you guys are loving these movies and gaining a respect. Oh, I think you always respected them, but you make the jokes. I will say, I wish I was getting a dose of some of the riffing and jokes, because I did think that going into it we were going to have a little bit more of that, and it would all be in good fun. So if you guys do want
us to amp it up a little bit, I mean, there's always the Two Towers, which I distinctly remember being the most useless of all 3 of the movies. Is that
that's the one with the most walking, right?
Well, I mean, that's the one where they
the trees start walking.
No future spoilers, guys.
Sorry.
I will say though that there is still some questionable, like, Peter Jackson cinematography that I don't really love. There's a lot of
slow motion. The Red Shoe Diaries slow motion.
Bad old slow motion.
But like, what's crazy about it is, it's as if let's have a little sports analogy for all our sports fans out there. Okay, like in a 7-game series, 4 of the games he was just lights out from 3, and the other games he's like 0 for 12, and it's like, how can you be so fucking awesome at so much of it, and then so really Vince Gilligan is a great example where he does the same thing in Breaking Bad, and even some of Better Call Saul, where everything is so beautifully done and so perfect, and how can a human being achieve this level of flawlessness? And then some of it is like, this is really, and then these are some choices right here.
You get the shot of Sam reaching his hand up in the water and Frodo reaching down 2 inches to pull him up. Like, why would you shoot at this?
Yeah, the scene that I really dislike is when they are going down the river and the Uruks are on the hunt, and they have like the cutting between both of them, and it's like really goofy slow-mo all the time. Like, it's embarrassing. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's almost like making these movies nearly killed him. I think they did.
At least what did you think of Fellowship Part 2?
Oh, and Fellowship historically not in my top. It's gaining respect for me, especially.
It was always top 3 though.
Yeah.
It was always top 3 low tier movies for me. You can't have a more impactful moment than I mean, it's technically a future spoiler within this episode, but Gandalf, Gandalf's descent with the Balrog, obviously. And I attempted reading the first book years ago, and I always jokingly say to people, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, movies, not the books.
Right.
I want to be genuine and honest. I'm not going to pretend like I love the books. I love the movies. And so for me, the first time I saw it, I was like, holy shit. Like, did not see that coming.
Yeah. But also the fact that he knew it's what he had to do.
Let's
get to the plot, man. Come on.
That's the question here too. Is like, how smart is Gandalf? Because Lady Galadriel kind of hints at the fact that she's like, maybe he wanted you guys to go through there. We don't know what his motivations are or how far he sees. We don't know why he wanted to go into that. Was it like his final test to become a black belt? Who knows? I don't know either. We know future spoilers.
He wanted to go in the mines.
Yeah, I don't think he
says.
Well,
he was terrified.
It's cool because he gives the choice up to Frodo, where he's like, well, let the ring bearer decide.
Yeah,
right.
And
but he's hoping he says no.
But 100%.
I don't know though, because he knows there's something in there, and I think that's what's so cool about his characters. You don't know if
Gimli says we could go through the mines and see my cousin, and then Gandalf looks at him with like grave just seriousness and says, I would not, I forget the exact quote, but he says, I would not go through the mines on my life, or something like that.
But then someone is like, oh, well, they dug too deep down there.
Yeah.
And found stuff, and it's like,
we can get into it. We can get into it.
Oh,
Nick, do you want me to do the positive intro on guitar or the scary intro on guitar?
Oh, definitely scary for this one. We're scary from here on out, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no positive in this movie anymore.
Go ahead, Nick. That's your cue.
Oh, that's all right. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, Part 2, extra long edition. I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor. The dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udon. Go back to the shadow. Udon. Let me do it again. Udon.
No,
Udon noodles.
Go back to the shadow. You shall not pass. It's nighttime, ladies and gentlemen, and Aragorn touches a statue of, I think, his mother, maybe? We don't know. Someone who looks like his mother.
It's his mom, yeah.
Okay, she knew Aragorn would be hunted all of his life because this boy has the power. What kind of power, Andy? The power to reforge the sword of the kings and do some cool shit with it. Andy, it's like they're making you a super PC with all the random access memory you could ever want, and all you have to do is beat the Dark Lord of Apex Legends. Do you accept the challenge, Andy? Do you accept the challenge?
Sure, Grandpa.
The challenge, Andy? Okay, great.
But yeah, that was his mom's statue because he was brought up like he grew up a lot. He grew up in Lothlorien.
Okay,
Lothlorien, right? Did I get that right?
Are you talking about the Galadriel's
Rivendell?
Rivendell, didn't he?
Yeah, he grew up in Rivendell. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Of course, Aragorn doesn't want that power. Bilbo gives Frodo his old sword, Sting, which glows when the orcs are close, except for most of the battles when they just didn't have the budget to make that thing glow the entire time. But it's okay. We get the good moments. Of course, I prefer Sting, which is the name of the sword, from when he was in the police, because we love the song Roxanne, and that's an obvious joke.
Inevitable. It was going to
be. Bilbo also gives him some mithril armor, but when the boy pulls open his shirt to put the armor on, he sees the ring, and Bilbo just goes full-blown Gollum on him. And this effect, not great, but scared the shit out of me because I forgot it was coming.
Terrifying.
But it's basically like, I think people that do like first generation After Effects tutorials on YouTube could make this look better.
Andrew Kramer.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
Does look like that.
What's up, everyone? I'm Andrew Kramer from videocopilot.net, and here's how you make people's eyes bigger in After Effects.
It was also like it was also half molding. There was a lot of practical effects in there as well. Yeah, it wasn't just all CG.
Andy, can you look at the camera and give me your best Bilbo Golluming out?
Okay, so he's there and he's like, he's like, "Oh, my ring." You know, he's very like, and he goes, "Yeah," and he's scared. Did you get scared?
That was really good. Well, you have to look in the camera because you're still looking over to the 15 feet away from you. There it is.
Well,
right
like
there.
I'm looking at Photo's ring right here. Like this is my like.
I want you to look. I want you to stare into my soul.
Yeah!
Oh, that did it.
Hang on.
Yeah.
What if I hold this for you, Andy?
Oh, my ring.
Andy, you gotta look the other way. You gotta look the other way.
Oh, sorry.
No,
But I want to.
No, the other way. At least it's to your right. Yeah, there it is.
All right.
Maybe I don't want Andy to have it.
No,
Elise.
Maybe.
Elise, no. Don't touch it, Elise. No, Elise. Anyway, let's see. Of course, he Gollum's out, gets control of himself. Then we go back outside, and Elrond gives everyone a pretty good pep talk as they embark on the journey over to Mount Doom, which is a lot like the first time I went to Magic Mountain. A lot of walking, and I threw up. Farewell. Hold your purpose. Maybe the blessing of the elves and man and the free folk go with you. I think I typed that wrong. I don't think he said maybe. I think he definitely wanted the blessing of the elves and man and free folk to go with you.
Maybe.
Maybe. He says the fellowship awaits the ring bearer. Frodo takes point as they exit the gates. And we have this great, I think a great touching moment here where he's very strong at first and he walks out in front of them and then he whispers to Gandalf, Mordor, Gandalf, is it left or right? And Gandalf whispers back, left. As if to say, I'm not going to leave your side until I fall into a pit of death.
Dude, which echoes the whole like I don't know where to go. Like I'll take this mission on, but I don't know where
yeah
the path
it's
is.
Scary.
Whatever. Yeah.
It's super scary. Aragorn shoots Arwen one last super horny look as he leaves, and we are off. And to me, I'd be like this: just go, guys. I'll catch up. I got to hang out with them for 4 seconds because this look they give each other is.
Yeah,
Andy, it's palpable. They head west of the Misty Mountains for 40 days to the Gap of Rohan, after which the road turns east to Moria. That's the plan right now. Of course, I skipped a part where they start walking toward the mountains and the main theme plays. And I got to be honest with you guys, I have never liked this main theme, and it's still true to this day. I think it's slow. I think it's lame, and I think it's not nearly triumphant enough to back up the rest of the score, which I think works so fittingly. That's what I'm saying.
What theme are you talking about? Really?
It's just so
well, when you
slow.
do it the way you do it, Nick, it sounds awful.
I'm a trumpet player, Andy. Are you a trumpet player? Because that's how trumpet players play.
So, but what I loved about this is like this. A lot of this was in the extended and not in the theatrical, but when they lead up to it, there's sort of this crescendoing score that eventually leads into the hero shot of them walking clearly in front of CG. Well, it's like a real background, but they're green screened or whatever. But like the lead into that was all added. Like there's a really cool. It was the first time I heard it. It's similar to in Mission Impossible Fallout when they changed the Mission Impossible theme. And it's like
so good.
You know, like this is
I
that
know
moment.
exactly what you're talking about.
So good, dude.
Of course, that's a minor criticism. The rest of the score is freaking amazing to me. I digress. Gimli wants to pass through the mines of Moria, but Gandalf ain't all about that jazz. Boromir and the hobbits wrestle and giggle until Legolas spot. They literally giggle. He's like, ew. And which I guess would be fun because you're essentially wrestling with two Pomeranians. So
Character moment for Boromir. That's what that was meant to be.
Great moment.
But it's like, I feel like that's like I get it. He's teaching him how to sword fight, but it's a weird look, you know? This full-grown man,
don't judge. But
then they like turn on him, and like for whatever reason, they get all upset and take him down.
Because he hits his hand on accident.
It was an accident, you know?
Yeah, but then Pippin like jokingly kicked. They're just farting around.
No, Pippin like they took him down. And they're like, "Let's gut him."
Nah, that's cute.
Of course, that's an extended edition.
It's all fun and games until Legolas spots a giant, I guess, group of super crows coming toward them. They hide as he says the Creebane from Dunland pass overhead, which I'm like, is that a place in Ireland? I don't know where that is. Their passage to the south is being watched. These, of course, are just some more minion of Sauron who are out scouting out for them.
Bunch of snitches birds, you know?
I know. So they can no longer take the pass of Karahardras, which is
there's so many fucking words in these movies, man. God bless subtitles.
They now must take the pass of Karharhard,
Caradhras.
You nailed it.
Caradhras, which is way more snowy and cold, of course, up there. And this was a cool point that they didn't do in the books. If you guys, I don't know if you, and maybe it's been like 20 years since I read these books, but maybe the person, what is the keeper of facts or whatever, can correct me if I'm wrong. But I remember there was a moment in the books where Tolkien describes everyone wading through the snow, and then I believe Frodo looks up and sees Legolas, and he's sort of just walking lightly on the top of the snow because he doesn't like dip into it, which they didn't get into here for obvious reasons because people were like, what is he, Jesus? What's going on here? But I just thought that was cool that the elves just have all these extra little powers that humans and hobbits don't have.
Being so pretty.
Elves don't weigh as much as humans. They hint to that a lot more in future films, and even like the Hobbit or whatever. But they are definitely a lot lighter than humans.
That's
in
cool.
another Gia medium-sized dog. What are you thinking? Moment. She was like, my ears are like that, and I'm like, your ears are not like that. She's like, no, they are. She started fighting with me. What? She's like looking at Liv Tyler, like, no, my ears are like that. I'm like,
oh my god!
Now I have to look at a picture of Gia's ears.
Tim, can you send me a picture of Gia's ears so I can pull them
you
up?
go get Gia and just bring her into this real quick.
Oh yeah, that's a really smart way to handle it.
She's building a grill.
Oh really?
Right,
oh, interesting.
It's a
really
lot
cool,
harder, by the way, to do that than you think.
A cool little extra part about this mountain scene is that Bill the pony is they were really worried about having Bill the whole time because they couldn't fly him everywhere. So
hold on. I must have missed a part of this. What are you saying?
The snowy mountain scene.
There's
Bill the pony.
There's a scene when they come to the gate of Moria where he goes, "We got to let Bill go," and I was like, "Who the fuck is Bill?
Yeah,
where did Bill come from? Why is he in this movie? He was not in any of the other shots of this movie. I swear to God."
So Bill the pony is in this snowy scene, like that you could see them pulling him like amongst the snow or whatever, but it's actually two people in a horse costume because they didn't want to. They didn't want to take him everywhere that was like really scary or whatever.
That's hilarious.
That's weird as ice.
But it's also a lot of miniatures. A lot of miniatures are in this shot.
Up in the snow, Frodo falls into the snow, and that pesky rings falls off of him, only to be picked up by the one and only Boromir. And he says he looks at it and immediately becomes entranced. It is a strange fate that we should suffer so much fear and doubt over so small a thing, such a little thing.
God, what a great line, dude!
And Aragorn's like, "Yo, give it back, dog." And they get down. And I love this moment because I didn't pick up on this the first time. But when Aragorn goes, it's not a big deal. Hey, it's cool. I'm going to give it back over. It cuts over and there's a quick little shot of him taking his hand off of his sword. Because he was about ready to fucking hack him down.
Yeah, he didn't even give him a chance. Like, he was already I don't trust this guy.
You come close to putting that ring on and I'm taking your head off, bro.
A cool part of the director's commentary was that when he's holding up the ring and looking at it there, that they used a ring that was 6 inches big.
Yeah, it was.
So that it looked bigger. Like they didn't have to worry about the camera and the angle they were filming it from. So it was like a giant ass ring.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
They're using a lot of big rings in these movies.
Yeah.
It's so many different sizes.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the 6-inch would fit me fine.
Nick, I just like you could have just let it go at
Tim knew it was coming.
Andy says 6 inches, and Nick just kind of smiles and just like counting down. When is it fucking
He's like,
coming?
when can I slide in and make this joke?
We'll start spinning, guys. Listen, if the shoe fits, put it on your penis. The crows,
Jesus Christ.
the crows fly back to, I believe, Isengard. Isengard? Is that where they fly back to? Where's the factory? That's in Isengard, right?
Saruman, Isengard.
To report back to Saruman, who figures out which route they're going to take, and he's like, I know where you guys are at. If the mountains defeat you, you will risk a more dangerous road. And
he knows about the mines too.
He does. He knows there's trouble waiting in the depths of the mines for them. So he calls up a blizzard.
Flame and shadow. So sick.
Which strikes, and Legolas hears what he describes. He says there is a fell voice on the air. Saruman chants and brings down the mountain on them. Gandalf chants back in Sindarian, which is a cool sounding language. If you watch the one of the cool things about, I urge you guys to watch this with subtitles because it shows you all the languages they're speaking, which makes it a lot. I'm like, he speaks like 40 languages in this.
Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
I was going to say this. So they're not necessarily. Saruman isn't casting a spell to be like Blizzard on or anything like that. He's awakening the mountain, and the mountain's like getting pissed off, and then Saruman is putting the mountain back to sleep. So it's like That's what they're saying.
Gandalf's putting the mountain back to sleep. Is what you
Yeah, because like the mountain has a spirit in it inside of it as
all
well.
right. Well, you're just splitting hairs here. And keeper of facts, if you're watching this, if you scream out into the air for a mountain to wake up, you're casting a fucking spell. Okay, that's a spell that's being cast. And if I scream out for the mountain to go back to sleepy time, that's a spell that's being cast.
Nick's got a point. Nick's got a point.
That is just how it is. Okay.
To what you were saying about languages, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody watched the reunion that happened last weekend between the cast.
I saw a picture of it.
I still haven't.
Oh man, it's excellent. And so many of the cast can still recite the language blocks that they like. Cool. Liv Tyler recites her like a bunch of Elvish.
That's so cool.
Because it kind of got burnt into their brains like learning a new language.
That's so awesome.
Of course, over on the tower, Saruman chants back. Sorry, so Gandalf chants in Sindarian, and Saruman chants back in Quenya. And Tim, it's official. We got a chant off. They just start chanting back and forth. Saruman starts pumping and locking. Gandalf like, on my head. And then...
like they're rap battling.
I love that we all watched the same movie, but like that's how Nick saw it. Like that's what that reminded.
We got a chant off.
Got a chant off. It all comes back to Zoolander, guys. Saruman, of course, brings down a shelf of ice on them, but everything gets stayed. They argue about their next step until Gimli tells him that their only real option is to head to the mines of Moria, where people like to barbecue. Of course, Gandalf's like, dude, there's something wicked down there. Has awoken, and it was awoken by the elves in the darkness of Khazad-dûm. Shadow and flame is what he says. That's all he refers to.
But it's like all over Gimli's head. He's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Gimli, I've decided, is the idiot of the group. I'll just say that.
Well, Merry and Pippin.
Yeah, Merry and Pippin. Well, Merry and Pippin are the useless idiots. Gimli is like really good at fighting, right?
Yeah, but he also is completely oblivious. And I will say this, toward the end of this movie, and guys, I think we should vote for MVP at the end of this. I'm going to give it to Legolas, because that motherfucker wrecks people with arrows.
He's also just beautiful, and like he's had.
Let's have an MVP of every episode. That's a good idea.
Okay.
And think of the theme song for later.
The thing, I don't like false drama created just to have, drama and plot. And I will say, if Gandalf knew what was up in the mines, it does frustrate me that he wouldn't be more vocal.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
What was the alternative? They were freezing to death up top.
They were.
I think, and this is why I think it's important. They hinted at the fact that Gandalf knew it and knew what was going to happen if he went down there.
He does say, "I wouldn't go in those mines," but he doesn't explicitly just explain to everyone.
But I also think that like they don't show it well in the movie, but it's 3 days that they're down in the mines, and it isn't until the very, very, very end that Pippin drops some shit and like gets everyone's attention, right?
Well, the mines are huge. It's the size.
No, I know, but I'm saying we only see them go into the mine, get lost a little bit, and then they're about to get out when Pippin drops the thing and all the.
Well, you also see all the dead carcasses of all the dwarves that were there before, so you know something bad's happening.
No, absolutely. But I'm saying they almost made it out.
Yeah,
they were so close. Yeah.
I think a lot of Frodo's decision also goes into the fact that they had sort of a setup line from Boromir where they are on the mountain, and he's like, "We're gonna lose the hobbits. The hobbits are gonna die up here." And I think that sort of influenced Frodo a lot as well. I think that line was put in there very purposely to convince Frodo the other way.
Yeah. Well, of course, Gandalf gives Frodo the decision. He says, "We want let the ring bearer decide." So Frodo chooses the mines, and the look on Gandalf's face says it all. In this, he's like, "Fuck,
yeah,
fuck! I would have rather fought some crows in some snow." But let's go to the mine. As they approach the entrance to the mines, Gandalf tells Frodo to trust himself, his own strength. For as the power of the ring grows, so too does the threat from outside, and he fears inside the group. And then they look at Boromir and they're like, "We're talking about you.
We're talking about you, bitch."
006.
We know.
Okay, we know you're about to betray James Bond and pretend like you're dead and then come back for a fight with a cool scar on your face. And there's a helicopter scene where you have to eject. Tell James what's up.
He always dies.
He always does. He always dies. He's like the James Marsden of movies.
God.
Except I guess James Marsden is
He's got a
the
stupid
James
face.
Marsden of movies.
You haven't seen Sonic the Hedgehog.
They hit the walls of Moria, but guess what? Dwarf doors are invisible when closed. Gandalf finds the entrance, which is illuminated by moonlight, and reads the thing above. It says, "The doors of Dorian, Lord of Moria, speak friends and enter." And even a 3-year-old could figure out this code, but apparently Gandalf is too old, and he's like, I speak every language, and I'll just start whispering stuff. I got this, guys. Don't worry. And everyone's like, yeah, right, buddy. And then 3 hours later, he's like, I don't got this. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
And then fucking Frodo, oh, it's a riddle. I love riddles.
Yeah.
Well, it took him 2
I
seconds.
think
Riddle, man.
I think the fact that that Gandalf just missed that simple comma, because Gandalf read it as "speak, friend," but it was just "speak, friend."
Yeah.
Also, I feel like also it's a really easy riddle.
But he's right
later-
about the comma.
Well, it's in Elvish
true.
too, which I wouldn't expect for the Dwarven minds.
That's true.
You know,
I will say, if all of us were at this door, I don't think we would get it. We'd be out there. We'd end up
We'd
dying.
get it.
Unless we had Cool Greg.
That's true.
Cool Greg he'd get it. He'd know the rules.
I feel like the reason why it's an Elvish door is like you buy Elvish doors when you want to have like a hidden door. Like, you know,
Like at Home Depot?
you buy
Oh, sure.
you know, dwarf like weapons.
yeah, like an
Yeah, for
RPG.
sure.
Yeah, like you're going
Yeah.
to different districts to get different stuff. Like,
Yeah,
do
that's-
you
I think
want
they had to
home
call
security?
around. Do you think they had to call around to a bunch of Elvish contractors to see who had
For
the
sure.
lowest
Yeah,
bid?
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that
And one
makes
dude
sense.
was like, I can just put a door in there. It won't go invisible.
Yeah, and
And
then
they're
Kevin
like,
had
"How
to
much was
fire
that?"
him.
No. Yeah, Kevin fired him and got a better door guy.
Stop making
Yeah.
fun of me for firing
We're
people.
not. We're proud of you. You think Andy and I could fire anyone? We're
No,
not.
fuck no.
Oh,
Fuck
come on,
no, dude.
guys.
Of course, Mary
Speak
throws a
friend.
rock.
Melon.
Sorry.
I just love the way
Sam
he
wants
says
to bring his
melon.
pony with him into the mines, and I'm like, where the fuck did this thing come from? I haven't seen it for 2.5 hours, but I guess Bill's been with him the whole time. Good
He's
for me.
been there the whole time.
Did
They
you
didn't
guys
do a
know
good
there's
job
pony in
explaining
this?
it.
Did you see the pony before?
Yeah.
It certainly
Sounds like
seemed,
there's a one.
but you
I'm
didn't
with
see
Nick
any
on the
moments
ring
where
with
they get like emotionally attached, which is weird for them to have the moment where they're like, "All right, we're gonna have to let him go," and it's like, "Well, what do you care? What do you
Yeah,
care?"
so
The thing that bothers me the most, guys,
Where
is
does the
that
pony
it's like, okay, we have Frodo, and then we have, Boromir, and then we have Aragorn, and here's Bill the pony.
But here's
Yeah.
my question for you guys. Like this, and I'm not even being facetious. Where did they get this pony from?
The elves.
Did the elves give it to him? Because Sam has this like one moment with him where he's like, I can't, I hate to let him go, and I'm like, is this your lifelong friend? Like, did you raise this pony from birth? And if so, where was the pony when you were running through the cornfield when Mary and Pippin were like
They got him in
taking
Bree.
advantage of the farmer's daughter?
Yeah.
What's
What's
that?
this chat?
They got him in Bree, but
Bree
they
is a
also
type
show
of
him in
cheese.
several shots when they are walking out of Rivendell. Like,
but they don't show any shots where he's like fucking petting the pony and be like, "This guy's my best friend.
well,
I don't ever want to leave him."
So
Also, if he
the
has a small
only
pony, why not ride it through the snow?
they
There's
mentioned
no scene like in Clerks 2.
they
Thank
mentioned in
you.
the direct.
Thank you. We get a whole movie where he builds a relationship, and when they're in prison, all of a sudden you're like, that makes sense. Thanks,
means
Sam.
Andy,
Donkey
I'm
Show.
sorry to cut you off.
Anyway, they mentioned in the director's commentary that they only added this in there so that people wouldn't go, "What happened to fucking Bill?"
Nobody.
They only-
Is there any lines other than that where they introduce Bill, where they say Bill?
I'm telling you this, Bill the Pony ruined the whole trilogy for me. I'll just move on.
Isn't Tom Bombadil's horse named like Fatty Lumpkin or something like that?
That's
Like
right.
it's a very
Probably.
has a lot of character to the name, and then there's fucking Bill.
I like. I kind of like that though. I like when people have like cute dogs and they name them like totally innocuous like human names, like Bob or Phil. I digress. Let's see. Mary
You
throws some
couldn't
rocks
throw
in the lake.
Cecil in
disturbs
there
the
or
freaking
Thomas
Loch
just to
Ness
be
monster.
nice.
What's that?
I said you couldn't throw Thomas in there to just a one time not just rip on me.
I wasn't ripping on you.
No, I know what I'm saying. Like you could, like you could have just been like, "Oh, Thomas is a great
This
name."
is not about you. This is about the ring. Okay, it's a bigger story than you are right now. Of course, Mary throws some rocks in the lake because he can't sit still for 5 seconds without having to do something that brings total ruination upon this whole group. And then he awakens the fucking kraken that's sitting over there in the Black Lake. And then Frodo figures that out. Oh, wait a minute, this is a riddle. What's the Elvish word for friend? And then Gandalf goes melon, and he's like, no, that can't be it.
Melon.
That's stupid fuck.
And he's like, try cantaloupe.
Great joke, Nick. Great joke. You're a comedian, dude. Stand-up comedian right here.
200,000 views on that stand-up special, ladies and gentlemen. The doors open and Gimli starts flexing hard on his mom's hospitality. He's like, "Yo, dude, we're at my mom's house right now. She's got tours, she's got Gatorade, she's got all this stuff. We're gonna show you guys a good time." And then, of course, he looks down and realizes that his entire group of people is dead. They're all dead, and they are rotting away at his feet. And
It
he
seems
gets
like they've
fierce
been dead for a
crestfallen.
while. Like a long
And he goes,
time.
"This," and someone says, "This is no mind, it's a tomb." And then they go, "Goblins." And you go, are they here? No, they're 3 days away, as Kevin so astutely pointed out. Then Frodo is attacked by the octopus in the lake, and everyone starts hacking at the thing. It chases them into the mine, bringing down the entire entrance around them. So now they are trapped. They have no choice. They must face the long dark of Moria. Be on your guard.
The CG, like, it's pretty decent for as old of a movie as it is.
Yeah.
And this is one of those scenes that Peter Jackson said that he really fought for, because the production or the studio didn't really. They were like, "Hey, man, we don't really want this. This is a lot of money." Like, and he really fought for it. He's like, "I feel like we needed a break from the downtime and sort of have this big action-packed monster movie moment."
Yeah. Well, they could have paced it a little better by cutting out the 15 minutes of Sam saying bye to Bill the pony, who I've never seen before in my life.
Do you think they took any piece of the Kraken to like eat later?
That'd be good. It'd be smart. A little sushi.
Right?
Yeah, a little calamari. Fry that bad boy up over that well that Pippin fell in or whatever.
Andy.
Or you leave it for Bill so Bill can eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Or that thing eats Bill.
Meat?
Because Bill and the pony ain't run away from that thing.
Bill the pony is going to be the James Bond car of Lord of the Rings.
Oh my god. He still talks about that car.
Nick just got so obsessed with the fucking car in James Bond.
Aston Martin.
The continuity of the Aston Martin didn't make
the continuity
sense.
and the reality of the world.
Explain it in the next movie.
We're so hard to build in Casino Royale.
Nick couldn't fathom that a super top secret futuristic agency could make a futuristic car.
It wasn't a futuristic car. They put in 1960s technology in this. It doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? Hey guys, spend $300,000 to put some fucking 1940s flamethrowers that don't even work in here.
My favorite.
I got a fucking $300,000 Aston Martin DB11 that's sitting here that can turn invisible and it has an ejector seat that jacks me off. But no, please take my fucking classic car that doesn't ride for shit and put it a bunch of big fat buttons, obvious buttons. They're so
my
obvious.
favorite comment was like, Nick, a fucking Jiffy Lube didn't work on this. Like.
It's like how they had to like convert everything for Austin Powers to make him feel comfortable in contemporary times.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
They gotta do
Austin Powers interview
like that.
It's exactly like that.
That is not a good comparison.
To the detail.
I digress. Be on your guard, everyone. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world. Now, when Gandalf says stuff like that, I would be like, let's stop for a second. What are you talking about?
Do you know talking about a fire demon?
You know Kevin James's YouTube channel? Have you seen any of it?
Yeah, it's so good.
Like the boom holder. He should make one where it's like Gandalf saying that and then him being like, "What are you talking about? What's the shadow? What do we do?
What is the Shadow and Flame you keep saying? Is it a cool like 80s hip hop group? What's happening?
He never. I mean, you are right, Nick. He never elaborates.
No, I'm like this stuff that you're saying. Not helping my anxiety level going into what is arguably the darkest place on the planet right now. But I digress. Let's see. They start their 4-day journey to the other side, and Gandalf gives everyone a little history lesson. The wealth of Moria was in mithril, which is the material that Bilbo's armor that he gave to Frodo is made out of. And then they hit it, and now he's like, it's not in jewels, it's not in this, it's not in that, it's in this cool metal that they have. They climb a set of stairs. The hobbits have trouble getting up, which kind of makes you wonder who designed this staircase, because the dwarves aren't that much taller than the hobbits. So why would they make a staircase that they have to climb with both their feet and their hands?
Oh,
Tim,
Nick, dude,
that question
you come
goes
in
to you.
here brilliant again, breaking down this horrible movie.
They literally like this. Oh God, I gotta climb, and then they don't show Gimli, of course, because if you had to show Gimli, he'd be like, God damn it, I gotta do the same thing. I'm so sorry, guys. Someone tossed me.
That's why they're so strong. That's why they're so strong. Guys.
I do feel
they're constantly doing dips upstairs.
I feel like the dwarves have a lot of pride, and I could see them doing that. I could see them building some shit that's not for them and being like, "What? We have regular stairs too.
We can do it."
Does this remind you guys of anyone?
No one off the top of my head. No one off the top of my head. No one would ever
Andy Serkis?
do something incorrectly and then pretend like it was his choice the entire time and then brute force it on everyone else. And then we would never do that. Never do. Anyway, do you think, Kevin, they went with the cheapest contractor on these stairs and he was like, guys, I built them perfect. And they're like, they're 5 times the size they're supposed to be. Like,
well, you use less material, right? If you have 3 steps, that's a lot more cement.
It's so much cement. It's
less
more
budget.
Work.
Yeah,
more chipping at the rocks.
They hit an impasse of 3 doors where Gandalf doesn't recognize, and as they sit and ponder, Frodo spots Gollum, who has escaped the dungeons of Barad-dûr. Escaped? or was set loose? Gandalf astutely says, now the ring has drawn him here. He will never be rid of his need for it. We get a little bit of Smeagol's life story. It was a sad one. He hates and loves the ring as he does himself. It's a pity Bilbo didn't kill him, says Frodo. And then this is where Gandalf again prophesies. He says, do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment. My heart tells me that Gollum has some part to play yet. The pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of men.
I just love that line. I think that line is so great, dude. Like, do not. I love the some that deserve life die, and most that die deserve life, or whatever like that. Right. Like, I just think it's so fucking well written.
It's very cool.
And again, it's cool. The thing that surprised me is like being a super noob to Lord of the Rings. Like, I thought that Gollum was all over these fucking movies. Like, especially the first one. Like, I thought that he was like in it, hanging out with Frodo. Like, I thought there was a lot of shit going on. And like seeing him in this, he's scary as hell. Like, I love that. Like, we only get glimpses of him, and every time we do, it's like this little shit's following us, and like it's scarier. Where like I've always thought of him as a joke, but it's probably because of Nick, if I'm being honest. But
that's 100% right. It's because
it's very impressive how they make this little guy and his presence scary, but like not something they need to deal with right now, which like almost makes it worse because like they have bigger things to deal with. But like he's there and they know it. It's cool.
I'm really interested.
I just want to read that line really quick. It's many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them, Frodo? Do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment. Even the very wise cannot see all ends. It's like, God damn, dude.
Well, that's what I love about it, right? That's what like Gandalf has this weird sense of like he doesn't know what's going to happen per se, like verbatim, but he can feel what's going to happen if you go in either of these directions. And like I love that there's stuff that even in this world remains unexplained. Like it's just the magic of Middle Earth and the magic of this whole story. I think it's really cool. Unlike the theme, of course, we can all agree, which is terrible.
No, we can agree.
No, we can't.
And Frodo wishes this wasn't happening to him. He's like, I wish this all wasn't happening. And he goes, that is not for us to decide. All we have to decide is what we do. With what to do with all of this. Basically, we don't have a choice. We just have to figure out what to do next. Gandalf then, of course, gets a whiff of which passage to head down, and they're off. Of course, you get. I don't know if you guys got the feeling here that he was like, we're just going to take a break, and I know exactly which way to go, but I want Frodo to come to like this realization, but I did.
I thought in this moment he was just sitting there, like this is when he's like cross-legged, sitting, meditating almost, right?
Yeah, but Ian McKellen does that great, wonderful thing where he's like, oh, it's this way. And you're like, did you know that the whole time? Are we waiting here just to like... Isn't
there a really cool line where...
He said he smelled...
Well, he says he gets a whiff of like, he says this one smells less foul this way, so it must be the way out.
But I thought he was just, I assumed that was like 5 hours of him sitting there trying to be like, one way might kill us.
Guys, I got this door. 5 hours later, brute force hacking it. He's like, I don't got this door. I need some help.
Before we find out if he gets the door, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that this episode is brought to you by Me Undies. That's right. I'm wearing them right now. They're very soft. That micromodal fabric, Kevin, it's treating me well. Are you being treated well right now?
Oh, yeah. You know I'm wearing them. I got my little...
What designs you got?
Sushi ones.
Ooh, I got pizza.
Oh.
Doesn't go good together, but apart.
The blue pizza ones.
Yeah, the blue pizza.
I have those too. I need to do laundry. I'm wearing my awful boxers.
Well, Andy, do I have the deal for you? Here's the thing with a membership from MeUndies, and man, is this membership handy. Imagine this. Every month, the softest, coziest undies magically appear at your door. As your undie collection grows, your laundry time lessens. So there you go. It's he's gone. He's gone. He ran away to get some MeUndies. But I'm sure he'll listen back to this later so he can learn that his laundry time will lessen. His micromodal fabrics across his nether regions will only become greater. MeUndies has a great offer for you guys right now. For any first-time purchasers, you can get 15% off and free shipping. You got to give this super softness a try, especially because they have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. To get your 15% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to meundies.com/morning. That's meundies.com/morning. One more time. meundies.com/morning for 15% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Back to the plot.
Behold the great realm of the dwarf city of Dwarwoldralf.
I wish that they would like color code the subtitles a little bit too.
You gotta
like, I feel like it could help a little. Like, give me like shades of blue for these guys and like shades of red for those guys.
You know what it needs?
Like,
It needs an app. There just needs to be an app that runs on your phone the entire time that kind of tells you what the hell's going on and where they are and who's whom. But of course, not a lot of natural light coming in here, Elise. Am I right? Which makes me think there's no way, as a claustrophobic human being, I could go through any of this.
No, you could. I think
ceilings are so tall.
That's true. That's true. But like,
I think you got the heart to do it. I think you could be in the Fellowship. I think everyone on this call could be in the Fellowship.
I think that's maybe
even
not
Kevin.
A compliment, considering that the Fellowship disbands by Andy.
Nothing. We were just talking about something secret with the four of us.
Oh, okay. Keep it secret.
Keep it safe.
Gimli cries over Balin. Lord, they come across this room where there's a coffin, or a giant sarcophagus rather, and Gimli cries over Balin, Lord of Moria. Moria has fallen. They must have barricaded themselves in as a shadow moved in the darkness. We cannot get out. They're coming. Reads Gandalf as he's apparently someone was like, we are screwed, so I need to take up a pen and paper and start writing down what's happening as these things are breaking through the door. I mean, because it's not enough to know that there's holes in the door and arrows in the body. Like, we got to figure out, someone's got to know that someone came in here and killed all of us.
But like, there's someone whose job is that, right? That like what Game of Thrones had the dude that like had no allegiance to whoever held whoever was
recorded.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the Watchers in DC.
It's almost like a medic. It's almost like a medic in the field. Like your role is to sort of
just write everything down so if someone finds them later, they know.
I respect that. Of course, then Pippin's dumbass drops a suit of armor down a well, and at first everyone's like, "It's fine, nobody heard that." And then off in the distance, a drum starts to beat, which is the most ominous sound you could possibly hear in a place.
Especially after the passage that they read about like the non-stop drumming, and you're like, "Oh, that's a random thing," and then you hear the drumming. Ah, what a cool setup!
Yeah, I just think they set up like the danger so well, and I think that's what this movie does so incredible to me is that like you feel the stakes, you feel how scary this must be when all that shit drops in, and he's and he's full of a toque, and he's all pissed off at him, and throw yourself in there, whatever. And then you hear the dun dun dun, like, oh my god, it's just like, like they're in for it right now. They're fucked. I love it.
Of course, the last sign of their impending doom is that Frodo takes out Sting, and that thing is glowing. And then, of course, a second later, the orcs are on them, but not just the orcs, Kevin. What do they bring with them?
Is it a troll? A cave troll?
Cave troll.
Yeah.
A giant cave troll.
The guy from Harry Potter 1.
Exactly. He got recast. It's good to see him get work. Bad to see Andy Serkis get more work.
They talk about how these goblins are different because they are inside caves or whatever. So they made them have like big bulbous eyes that have evolved over time, so they could see in the dark and shit like that. And they don't look like the other orcs and goblins. They're a little more like slimy and more like subterranean creatures and shit.
Love
so
that.
that's cool.
I also love how they move. They kind of crawl up the walls and up the pillars and stuff like that.
That's freaky, especially when they're coming down and you're looking up into this abyss.
Yeah, when it's just the big wide shots of just the Fellowship running and everyone scrambling around them.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so freaking good. Of course, Legolas pops a couple caps in that troll's ass, but then it like whips Boromir around and all hell breaks loose as everyone's fighting. Of course, undeterred, the troll goes straight for Frodo and almost gets him until Aragorn jumps in its way and stabs it with a spear. But even that can't take this thing down as the troll takes the spear out of its own ribcage and stabs Frodo with it. And we get a lot of really, really, really bad slow motion reactions until Merry and Pippin jump on the troll's back and Legolas steps the fuck up and shoots that thing right through the mouth, which you're like, again, this is why I'm voting for him. I mean, I think we can just vote right now. Is Legolas MVP of this episode? Raise your hand if you think he is.
Of this episode?
I'm an asshole. Okay, I'll put my hand down. Of course, everyone thinks, again, this is there's a few things in this movie stylistically that I wish they had not done. The post-effect slow motion should never be done in films.
Why did they do it?
I don't
know.
This is one of those things that like it didn't look good in the 80s. Like, why are they doing it in 2001?
I think the slow motion obviously gives you a nice dramatic beat, and it's a great piece of visual storytelling. But when you do it, there's two ways to do it for people.
You have to film that shit at a high frame rate.
You film it at a high frame rate and play it back at 24 frames, which means that every frame gets played, and it ends up being slower. Or you put a speed effect on it in Premiere and hope to God that no one notices, and everyone always notices. And this was back in like 2000, where I don't even think the frame blending was that good. good. Man, it just represents, you know what it reminds me of? Skinamax. Softcore porn, like Red Shoe Diaries, when someone's walking down the street and they're like, this needs to be sultrier. So let's duplicate the frames and make it choppy as shit. And then David Duchovny's out there just reading the diaries. And you're like, wow, you used to be in X-Files. Why are you doing this?
So something that I think is really weird about it is that Peter Jackson would then go on to like push the boundaries of like frame rate stuff. And like, for better or worse, people have their thoughts on it. But it's weird that he would then, what was it, 140?
It was 40. It was just 40.
He did 48 frames for Hobbit.
48 for Hobbit.
And it's just like, what? Like, the guy that wants it smoother, he was embarrassed.
You gotta keep
I gotta
in mind,
overcompensate.
You gotta keep in mind, this is the same guy who put GoPro footage in the Hobbit movies. Where like everything's filled with like incredible red cameras, and they cut to like a GoPro selfie cam of them in the barrels. Like again, this is Vince Gilligan, like 99% perfect, 1% really awful choices.
That's okay. We all forget this is the man that made The Frighteners, and I'm a Frighteners stan.
Great.
Don't get me wrong.
Great movie.
But
Michael J at his best.
Yeah, sometimes bad choices are made. It's all good, man. Peter Jackson also mentioned he thought the cave troll was just like a good guy that got sort of wrapped up in the wrong group. and he was like, yeah, I was
like Cole Greg.
Yeah, he was like,
Cole Greg and Moria.
Yeah, he said I always looked at the cave troll as like not this evil malicious thing, but like he's just running in with the big bat because he's like, oh, everybody else around me is doing this, I got to do the same thing. And he goes, and I like to imagine that his mom is waiting for him to come home, and he never came home. I was like, oh my god,
Jesus. Also, is it supposed to be a kid?
He said just like he's just a young
creature, neither good nor bad.
Well, why is his mom waiting?
Actually, I'm gonna look at this. Kev, while I read, can you do me a favor and look up what did they use to film this? What did they? Because I remember thinking maybe they actually did shoot this on the original Reds, which might have been one of the reasons why. I don't know if they could have done slow motion. I think back then you needed like a phantom camera. Like Reds now can do 120 frames, but I think I feel like he shot digitally for this, but I could be wrong. Kevin, if you could look that up, that'd be great.
I'm on it.
Thank you, sir. Of course, Fredo should be dead, but as everyone huddles around him, it's revealed that his mithril Kevlar armor that Billboard gave him did the job at everyone. And then Gimli's like, shit, that thing's worth like millions of dollars.
Literally, right? Your whole city.
And yeah, your whole city, because there's a moment where
it's an aria. It was shot on an aria, as far as I can tell.
Oh, it's on an aria. Okay. Yeah. There's a moment where I think a piece of trivia was talking about how Gandalf had given Bilbo some rings made of mithril that he never told him how much they were worth, because if he did, he could have been able to buy like basically the entire Shire or something like that.
Was it not the shirt that was made of mithril rings?
It might have been that. Yeah, but whatever. The
chainmail.
Yeah, this stuff is like super.
They said that when they actually made that effect, that like it's tiny little actual chain, like much smaller than what you see like in like Game of Thrones use or whatever, and it took like 3 weeks to make or some shit.
So wait,
like that.
Mithril's not real?
No.
Okay.
What do you mean?
I thought it was just when I saw this, I was like, oh, chainmail's pretty dope. Yeah.
Well, I mean, chainmail works in a similar way, but chainmail would break.
No, also, Mithril's just like this super fake, expensive, powerful
magic metal.
It's adamantium basically.
Yeah.
Cool. Also, I feel like I read another piece of trivia saying that in order to get the thing to glow, they just brought Liv Tyler closer to it, and then it just glowed.
That's pretty funny, Nick. That's pretty funny.
Thank you very much.
That's a good joke.
I was watching this video on special or like practical effects in movies, and it was like maybe a 20-minute video on chainmail. Because it is really, really difficult to make chainmail. And for Lord of the Rings, Weta actually made a ton of real chainmail for all this shit. So it's just
Weta the real MVP, I'd say.
Yeah.
If I had to run around in that shit, I'd be like, can you make me the fake chainmail? Can I just get the plastic chainmail?
When you see the orcs, like, or maybe it's Uruk-hai, like forging weapons.
Yeah.
Those are the actual prop masters and blacksmiths that they just like put them in costumes and film them.
That's cool.
In the last couple of years, they've developed a much cheaper and lighter way to make chainmail, though.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a foam like laser cut thing. It's really cool.
That makes more sense. Although it'd be fun to make all that chainmail, I think. After the first 3, you'd be like, I'm done. I don't want to do this shit anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, with more orcs coming, they run fast toward the bridge. Surrounded, they huddle back to back and wait for the inevitable. But The action is cut short as a low, deep growl from the distance makes all of the goblins disappear. And I know what you're wondering yourself. This is the point at which I would have turned around and been like, is this the flame and shadow thing you were talking about, Gandalf? And also,
but again, it's been 3 days since he said that.
That's the kind of shit you remember, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Over those 3 days, I would have been like, so the flame and shadow thing, what's going on with that?
Yeah, what?
Let's get some more backstory there.
But they don't have anyone that's like scared in the group. You know, they're all too brave to be asking smart questions.
They cut over to Boromir and he says, "What is this new devilry?" And he goes, "It's a demon from an ancient world, the Balrog."
Yeah.
And I'm like, wasn't that a Street Fighter 2 character? And everyone's like, good, Nick, you remembered something about video games.
Is this in Japan or America are we playing? Which one is this?
I
Is
believe
this the
it's
captain?
So
Or
one,
M.
They
Tyson and Bison, Balrog.
they mentioned in the commentary that the Balrog is similar to Gandalf in that they are both Maiar. No, I forgot the name. Oh.
It's Maiar, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the right name. Yeah, it's like
so
different levels of.
They're both similar, like sort of god level status creatures and beings and stuff, and then like that they made sure to focus on Legolas's reaction because like the elves are most scared of those beings.
Well,
so Legolas is like, oh fuck, like shit.
The next thing he says to everyone is I probably should have pulled this line for the very beginning because he turns to everyone and says, "This foe is beyond any of you. Run." Like, don't even stop. Just get the hell out of here. And then we see the Balrog and everyone's like, yeah, you were right. Again, maybe a preface that this thing's been fucking wandering around the shadows of Moria. I would have taken Snow to this any day. Gandalf, of course, knows what has to be done. He tells Aragorn to lead them on toward the bridge. Swords are no use here. Go ahead, Kev.
Oh, I was just going to say, this didn't kill everyone. It was the orcs that killed everyone, right? All the dwarves?
I think so, because all the things
they all have arrows and shit in them,
yeah. But presumably this is just the thing that wanders around. And maybe I think now is not bad either.
They did dig too deep as well.
Right, well, they like opened the door,
I
guess. But I guess it wasn't... They must have been able to close it at least partially because it doesn't wipe them out, it looks like.
I'd like to think that if Kevin was a professional UFC fighter, he'd be Kevin the Balrog Coelho. That'd be a dope name for you.
Sure.
All right. They come across a break in some stone staircase, and Aragorn starts tossing the little dudes like it's going out of style as arrows start coming at them from the orcs above. Again, Legolas fires back and just starts being like a sniper. You know what I mean, Andy?
I love it. Clicking heads.
Just clicking heads and clicking
heads, baby. Yeah, they mentioned that this whole sequence was like just 2 lines, like, and then they cross the bridge and that's it. But then one guy mentioned like, what if when he was drawing the concept art was like, what if the staircase breaks in the middle? And then Peter Jackson was like, all right, time to create a whole like 5 minutes action sequence. Like,
so fun, right? Because this reminds me of 2 things that movies have always taught me, right? These are the 2 most fundamental lines that have shaped basically my youth and now my adulthood. Number 1, Elise, nobody puts baby in a corner. We know this. Okay. And number 2, nobody
dancing Havana Nights for anyone.
God, no. I know I'm not Havana Nights. But nobody tosses a dwarf is the second one, right? I love this line where Gimli's like, nobody tosses me. And of course, that's going to be a setup for later in the movie. Spoilers. But he jumps himself and almost falls until Legolas grabs his beard and pulls him back.
Not the beard!
Great comedic moment there. Levity.
I feel like the moment that happens immediately after that with Aragorn and like playing it cool as this thing's breaking and Frodo's just like, I don't know what to do, and he's like, no, relax, and just like he's like, tilt your weight forward. So cool, and that's why I nominate Aragorn as the hero of this movie.
Oh, okay,
yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So just cool and collect. Okay. Also for the whole movie, because he is the guy that starts the Fellowship of the Ring, right? He's the first guy to be like, hey, my sword is yours. I will protect you as long as you have this duty.
If you want to get technical about it, Gandalf started this whole thing, and maybe he should be.
But I'm saying when they're all
up to the most iconic scene ever.
Oh shit! Oh man, you're making good points. All right, I'll back down.
Of course, as the Balrog approaches, what Kevin says, they surf it over to them, and everyone's saved on the staircase. They head toward the bridge as a really, really bad CG fire appears behind everyone, but that doesn't matter because a second later, out of the fire materializes the Balrog, and it is really cool looking. With the team safely over the bridge, Gandalf makes his final stand. Quote, "I am a servant of the secret fire.
I'm already getting goosebumps. Jesus.
Wielder of the flame of Anor. Anor? Is that how you say it, Andy?
Yeah, Anor, and then the flame of Udun. Like
the dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udun. And the Balrog starts raining down a fiery blow with his massive sword as Gandalf, the light from Gandalf's staff, repels it. And he screams, "Go back to the shadow." And then upping the ante, the Balrog pulls out a whip. And Gandalf's like, "Yo, where'd you get that? That was not, we were not."
Like Wonder Woman.
Sword and staff.
Whoa.
Whips. And then, of course, Gandalf realizes what has to be done. He drives his staff into the stone of the bridge and decrees, "You shall not pass." And the impact of the power from his staff splits the bridge into two, plunging the Balrog back into the shadows. With one final effort, the demon, of course, whips his whip, and it finds Gandalf's foot, dragging him down with it. Gandalf manages to hang on to the ledge for one split second as he looks up at his team, knowing his fate is sealed. He issues one more command to his fellowship: "Fly, you fools." And with that, his grip fails, and he and the Balrog fall into the darkness below. And I'd be like this: I quit. Like, we don't have Gandalf. We have nothing.
Dude. My nipples are so hard right now, dude. Goosebumps.
But even in that moment, no one puts the ring on. For Gandalf, who that's the gravity of the situation here, and the threat of using that ring for Gandalf, everyone loves not putting the ring on. Would you put the ring on for Gandalf, Tim
Probably.
Gettys?
I would have done it. I definitely would have. That fire guy was scary, and once you pull out the whip, I'm like,
So just to be clear, you wouldn't have put it on for Gandalf. You would have put it out to become invisible and run away.
I'm running. Yeah. No, here's the thing: if I was invisible, I'd be able to just chill there. I don't need to even run. I don't like running.
That's true.
Hey, there's some buzzing on my side. I'm sorry. That's paint downstairs. I'm sorry.
We know.
Let's see. Through the remaining fellowship escapes out into the light through a storm of arrows. Once on the outside, Aragorn orders the crestfallen hobbits to march on toward the woods of Lothlorien. Frodo, of course, is hit hardest by all of this. He sheds a tear for his fallen friend. When they reach the forest, they're spotted by Galadriel's elves, who deny them passage through their forest because of the great evil they bring with them. Also, potentially because they don't know what's going on, because all of them are on Quaaludes. Why are these elves so weird, Andy? Why are they weird?
Real quick, before we answer that question, I also want to just give 2 seconds of attention to the moment that happens immediately after they get out of the caves, where they start crying, and Boromir is like, or Aragorn is like, "Hey, we gotta go," and Boromir's like, "Just
Kevin,
let them."
What's his name?
I don't know, man. I keep flipping around.
Aragorn.
Aragorn.
It's a great scene. I mean, showing again the leadership of Aragorn, where he's like, "We don't have time to stop. We're going to die. We need to get that forest line before these things catch up to him."
But they did mention that there is a cut of it where they actually follow them out of that passage, and then the elves save them. But I think that line is really important, just to show, to give Boromir more of I guess
more compassion,
affection, and more compassion, so that when that turn happens, it's even more impactful.
Well, don't forget, 4 days ago, he was giggling and rolling around with these little dudes like there's nothing wrong with the world.
Right.
Oh, it also gives us, when Frodo starts walking away, and then it gives us the Frodo turn, when he does that.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah.
I bet Andy could do that really well too.
Andy, let me see it.
The Frodo turn. Frodo.
Andy, stop laughing. You can't
I need
laugh.
blue eyes. I need big blue eyes. But they also mentioned that Legolas's reaction, which I think is kind of corny, I don't love, but it's him sort of being like, "Oh shit, people can die," because he's just not used to seeing elves don't die. They are immortal unless they're like killed or whatever. But him seeing that death is sort of like, "Oh shit, I have never really experienced this before."
But do you think
that's
also
kind of overacted?
Do you think that's him thinking of Gandalf as one of the Maiar or whatever? Like, because Gandalf is sort of this not demigod, but like this.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there.
Like an angel, right?
Even he can die. And also, fun fact: they filmed all this without Ian McKellen ever filming a scene. So these reactions, Ian McKellen didn't report to set until like 2 months later or something like that. So all of this, they had never even met Ian McKellen for this movie yet. He wasn't a part of it. So they were like, it was tough because we had to react to a character dying that we just didn't really know or anything like that, Oh,
man, they nailed it. And I love this look too. I like the look that Frodo has a couple moments. Frodo has a couple moments.
He's Fredo now.
my brother, has a couple of moments here where he looks back and you get that good performance from Elijah Wood. Where is he mourning for Gandalf, or is he starting to realize what needs to be done? Right. And that there's no real clear delineation, but you start to see that he's thinking, wow, this is all of these people are sacrificing themselves for me to do this thing. And at a certain point, like he has the tipping point where he's like, I need to go at this alone. And I think that it's so wonderful that they give him these little moments just to kind of show like where his emotional state is at. As Aragorn starts arguing with Haldir, who is the most quaalude out of all of the elves in the woods, Boromir takes a moment to console Frodo, Jesus Christ, by telling him, quote, Gandalf's death was not in vain, nor would he have you give up hope. Aragorn's argument must have worked because the elves bring them off to Caras Galadriel, the heart of elvendom on Earth. And I gotta tell you right here, man, if you thought Elrond's house was cool, man, Elrond's house, Tim, is like when you buy your first condo and it's like a little tiny studio, 1 bedroom, and then your boy that went into finance shows you his house, and you're like, oh, fuck, I should not have been a film major. Because the Galadriel's house her kingdom is dope.
And everybody here is just on ecstasy. Like
they are on
like
Molly and
there's all this like stigma around these forest elves. Everyone's like, oh, these forest elves seem like they're okay.
Yeah.
Okay. They got the good Molly. Let's see. The Fellowship is brought before Celeborn and Galadriel, who ask where is it? Either of those right?
No. Can I just? Do you guys know that Galadriel has a husband in this?
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that until this movie. Like because the theatrical didn't really show this man at all. I don't think.
Oh, I just love because like. I feel like no one realizes that.
I didn't
realize, Celeborn is just like he's such an afterthought.
Yeah, he's absolutely.
Yeah.
He's also played by the actor that I swear to God is the bad guy in every B movie starring either Vin Diesel or about vampires. Like he's a bad guy in something, and I can't remember what, and it's bugging me. Chat, let me know if you know the movie I'm thinking of.
Wasted Bandwidth says he was like in 2 shots in theatrical. I just don't remember. He's so forgettable to me. Yeah,
he's very forgettable. Of course, because Galadriel is basically the leader of this. Like he seems to be the king, but she's like, I wear the pants and all the rings of power in this relationship. She asks where Gandalf went, but when the team tells her that he never made it out of the needless trip to Moria, Galadriel tells him that no one knows how Gandalf works. Maybe he had a good reason for letting them go in there. Wink, wink, Gandalf the Grey. Remember that term, Tim? Gandalf the Grey.
I will.
I say
write it down.
Gandalf the Grey. Write it down.
Gandalf the Grey.
Gandalf the Grey. Okay, great. The Fellowship is brought before Celeborn and but Galadriel is kind of creepy and can talk with her brain, which is always very scary to me. Because guys, what is my biggest fear in life?
Talking with brains.
People can hear what's happening in my brain. That is terrifying.
For good reason.
Very good reason. That night, the elves sing for Gandalf to mourn for him as the Fellowship makes some eulogies for Gandalf the Grey Wizard. Aragorn wants Boromir to take some rest, but he will find no rest here. Galadriel told him in his head that even now there is still hope, but Boromir can't see it. She's like, there's still hope for you. And he's like, I can't see it. And it's because guess what, Boromir? You're not what she's talking about, buddy. Aragorn is. Boromir wants to see the glory of Gondor restored. The White Tower of Echelon.
Ecthelion.
Thank you.
Ecthelion. Like, what a cool word, dude.
You're going to have to put these words in my mouth, Andy. I'm going to mouth it. You say it. Ready? Andy, I'm going to mouth it. You say it. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Ecthelion.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Glimmering in the morning light, and that sounds dope as shit. Let's do some Molly and watch the sun come up is what all these elves are thinking right now. They bond, quote, one day we'll go there together and the tower guards will take up the call. The lords of Gondor have returned. But we all know that before this movie is out, 006 will be dead as doornails. Later that night, Frodo follows Galadriel to a small fountain, the water from which she uses to fill a little bassinet that turns into a mirror, and she asks him to look into it. The mirror shows many things, and Frodo's like, why don't people just tell me what's happening? Why do I have to experience these things for myself? It's terrifying.
I'm so scared.
Of course, when Frodo looks into the mirror, he sees everything he loves, the Shire, Sam, second breakfasts, all that stuff, just all on fire. Hobbits were put in chains in an old rusty mill that looks like it's full of tetanus. Then we see the eye of Sauron, and it spots the ring and pulls Frodo toward it until Galadriel tells him that everything he saw will come to pass if he fails.
This whole scene to me is corny as fuck, but it reminds me that like this fucking book was written so long ago that it's only corny because everything has done it since then. Like this is the origin story of the, like, you get the vision of all the darkness and like, oh, look what could be. And it's just like, once I realized that, I'm like, you know what, Lord of the Rings, pretty fucking dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you have this mirrored in Harry Potter, and I forget what the thing was called, Kevin. If you can help me out. Yeah, the mirror. No, not the mirror of Erised. It was I was thinking the pensieve, when they take the things out and
you see the memories.
You get to experience memories. I feel like that was taken a lot from this scene from J.K. Rowling. Not saying she ripped it off. I think she evolved it and made it better, is what I'm saying. Is Harry Potter's a better story than these.
100%.
Not at all.
I think we can all agree with that. No need to talk about it more.
Right. Vote right now. Frodo tells Galadriel that she was like, I'm sorry, one more piece. She says, not only that, but that ring is going to destroy the entire fellowship. And he's like, fuck, you're right. I know this. And then he tells her, he's like, look, if you ask for this thing, I'll give it to you. And we get what I think is a great scene where she just massively freaks out on him and becomes a monster.
He's such a little bitch, being like, hey man, if you want it, just ask. I'll give it to you. I mean, care.
Yeah. Like, you got to assume that he just wants that weight off of him, dude. Like, if anybody else could take this, please do it. You know, I'm down. I'm down to just go back to the Shire and just chill, you know?
Like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I mean, I see where he's coming from. You know, Gandalf just died, man. Shit got real. I can see why he would see this elf and how powerful she is and think like
she can handle it.
You know,
but doesn't she seem sketchy as shit?
Well,
like even before she went fucking crazy, I was like, I don't trust you. No, you talking to motherfuckers' heads and stuff, and like,
yeah, it's weird being all sneaky about it too.
And then I love this moment though, right? Because she freaks out and then she mellows back out and she goes, "Test passed." Or I passed the test.
Yeah.
I can't take this thing. And then she goes, she'll remain Galadriel and diminish into the west, meaning as everything starts to fall away, she will die and go off into the, what is it called? The Haven or whatever it is. Which is kind of sad because you're like, wow, you could have taken this thing and basically ruled the world, but you would have been evil, and she doesn't want that for herself or for her kingdom. Frodo, of course, doesn't want to be alone, but Frodo is the ring bearer. To bear a ring of power is to be alone, and Frodo, it's this moment where Frodo knows what must be done, but he's afraid to do it. And Galadriel tells him that even the smallest person can change the future, except Gimli, who everyone talks shit about behind his back. Saruman preps. We get in a scene where Saruman's prepping his Uruk-hai to go on the hunt with some dope ass war paint that I use for my 87 Predator and Predator hunting ground.
The music's so sick. Yeah.
He tells his lieutenant, who is named Lurtz, but who I'm going to call Lutz from now on because it sounds just like the bad guy lieutenant name, to go and get the hobbits and kill the others and bring them back. The woodland elves give the fellowship, as they're about to leave, give them really cool cloaks. This is a weird scene for me, and I have to imagine this was like not how this was planned to go, but they were like, we got to get these guys out of here because we've been in this elven town for so long, so let's show a scene where we cross-cut them on the river remembering this and Galadriel giving them all sorts of cool presents. So she gives Legolas a bow and then some daggers to the hobbits and then some elven rope to Sam because, let's face it, he's not a fighter. And then Gimli asks for nothing except a moment to flirt with her, which I can't blame because it's Kate Blanchett.
He asked for something.
He asked for a piece of her hair.
One piece of her hair. And she gives him
Andy,
3.
You must know this, Andy, the importance of her giving him 3, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, so Feanor, who was an elf, and created the Cimmeral. That's a whole thing. We don't have to get into this. All you need to know is that Feanor was a very, very powerful elf. And he went to Galadriel and requested 3 strands of her hair. And she can see into people's hearts and see their true nature. So she looked, into Feanor's eyes and could see his heart and denied him her hair. And, he persisted and yet she denied. So the fact that she gives Gimli, he requests 1 strand and she gives him 3, just speaks volumes into how she looks into his heart and sees his character.
He's a good dude. Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
And I didn't know that watching the movies. That's something I read after. Question from Nick.
Nick, go ahead.
What's he gonna do with the hair?
I knew he was gonna ask that.
You know what he's
verbatim.
gonna do. He's gonna smell it and jerk off.
It's from the hair doll.
It's fucked up.
Nick, no, you're not allowed any more questions.
I will say I didn't appreciate that this entire scene that the Peter Jackson stole it from the 1995 Power Rangers movie.
It's true.
Oh, you're right. Great point.
Yes!
Great point. Great point.
Down to the part of Sam being like, "Oh, I just get the wire." It's the Black Ranger being like, "I'm a frog."
Yeah.
Power Rangers keeps coming up because I'm saying that Saruman's War Machine when he's pumping out his
putties.
Urkai.
Yeah,
It's just making me think of the
Rita's
Rita
minions.
monster.
I love
Lord of the Rings ripping him off. I'm telling you.
So all of this was added in the extended. None of that was in the original or whatever in the theatrical. But
wait, what part wasn't in the theatrical?
Like Galadriel giving them gifts or whatever.
Really?
But it's such a cool. Yeah, correct. But it's such a cool video game moment of the squad is getting upgraded. You know,
Dude, they're all leveling up.
Yeah,
This is fucking super
it's really
awesome.
cool. Yeah,
Mandalorian armor upgrade.
Yeah.
Of course, Aragorn. When she gets to Aragorn, he's already has the greatest gift of all, which we can all agree is Liv Tyler. But he wants her. He was like, "Liz, I want her to take that ship to Valinor and be with her people." And she says, "Well, that's her choice, and you've got your own choice to make. Do you want to be a G, or do you want to fall into darkness with the rest of your kin? That's up to you." To Frodo, of course, she gives the light of Arendelle. Their most beloved star, may it light your way in the darkest places when all other light goes out.
So all are one, man. Transformers the movie, 1986. Never forget.
And they're kind of reminiscent.
Elendil. Thank you, Kabams.
Okay. Okay, guys, I'm doing my best here. Okay,
You are. Hey, no, Nick, mouth the word right now.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Elendil.
Perfect.
There you go.
God.
As they make their way down the river, they're chased with yet more really bad slow motion by the Uruk-hai, who are scary. That night, Boromir spots Gollum, who has managed to track them down the river, and we actually get a little props here for Gollum from Aragorn. He was like, "I was hoping we'd lose him down the river, but it turns out guess what? Smeagol was a river guy, so he knows how to swim, and he tracked us down here." And it's that really creepy scene where it's not subtle at all, Gollum, FYI, where we see the log moving on its own, and then it changes direction and starts coming at him, and then his little bald head creeps up. And I have to imagine that's what Tim sees when I creep around doors like this to him. Just the bald head first, and then my creepy ass eyes, and then I go, "My precious." Then I
when you're back at the office and your head peeks over the monitor.
Exactly.
Nightmare.
Sam checks in on Frodo. He promised Gandalf that he would, but Frodo knows deep down that no one can help him. Not this time. Boromir wants them all to head to Gondor so they can regroup and with strength. But Aragorn's like, "Dude, there's no strength left in Gondor. And if we go there, they're just going to be dumbasses about this whole thing." But he's like, "Maybe you're afraid." But then Aragorn knows that leading the ring into Gondor will be a big mistake because men are weak, and Boromir betrayed 007 and GoldenEye, and he is not to be trusted. Do you understand me, everyone? Not to be trusted. They pass through 2 giant statues that are given the kind of stop in the name of love salute down the river. And someone's like, "Hey, it's our kings." And I'm like, "How did you make those statues? How did you do that?"
Those are really cool.
So cool. Yeah. So those are miniatures, actually.
No, Andy, they were really big.
They were like because I always just assume everything's CG just because of how every movie that's recent is everything is CG. If there's CG, if there's any environments, it's got to be just computers or whatever. But they were cheaper. They were 7 feet tall miniatures or something like that. And
that's just normal size then.
And then when it flew near his head, when it flew near the dude's head, and they had a bird's nest in the eye, and the birds flew away, and Peter Jackson justified it as the birds were getting scared of the helicopters that were flying near, which is like,
oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Trying to trick you into thinking it's more practical than it actually is.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Which is a kind of weird justification, but still.
Peter Jackson, again, as Elise so astutely pointed out, almost died making these films. So you have to imagine at a certain point he was hallucinating. They reach the falls, and so of course they have to go ashore, and then somehow they reach a lake later too. I'm not quite sure how the falls in the lake. Maybe they hiked down into the lake. Who knows? But Legolas is like, dude, Gimli lays it all out. Their path is going to be real hard. Something about razor sharp labyrinths and a highway patrol officers everywhere. I don't know. But from here on out, it's not going to be any easier. Legolas, of course, wants to leave now. He says something evil draws near, but Merry realizes Frodo is missing. We catch up with him. He's gone to look at the remnants of an old fallen statue where he encounters Boromir, who by now we all know really wants that ring. Boromir gets super aggressive and tackles Frodo, and of course he sees no other choice, so Frodo puts the ring on and turns invisible, going into the Shadow World. Boromir comes to his senses, but it's too late. The
sound design of the Shadow World, or whatever the fuck it is cool as shit, man. I love how crazy it is, and I feel like it's backed up so well with the visuals of what's going on.
And what's crazy about it is there's moments in the Shadow World that feel like they were filmed in real slow motion. So Peter Jackson, you know how to do it.
You know how to.
Clearly. Maybe don't make the big bird statues with real birds flying out of eyes. Maybe just crank up the Phantom Flex next time. And let's go.
They were not real birds.
They weren't real birds. No.
Exactly.
That's the whole point of the story.
Exactly.
No, the helicopter wasn't
helicopters
real.
weren't
No,
real.
it was just a camera.
Everyone really wearing sandals. I don't know.
You listen so little.
And again, we get a wonderful scene here where Frodo comes face to face with the Eye of Sauron again. He's like standing up against it, and it's a cool visual storytelling. Aragorn then finds Frodo, but the Hobbit knows better, and he's like, "What's with you? Why are you freaking out?" And he goes, "Can you protect me? Can you protect me from yourself? Would you destroy it?" He asks him as he's like holding the ring out, and Aragorn, thinking long and hard, is like, "Fuck, I wouldn't," and he closes Frodo's hand around the ring, and he's like, "I can't take this." He goes, "I would have gone to the end. I would have gone with you to the end, the fires of Mordor." And to which Frodo responds, "I know. Look after the others, especially Sam."
So good.
He will not understand.
It's so good. But also that's the moment where Aragorn is like, maybe we do got a chance, us men and women, us humans, because he's able to see like, oh shit, I can kind of resist this power. Yeah, maybe we do have a fighting chance.
Of course, at that moment.
A controversial opinion here, and I know I'm going to get shit for this. I don't like Frodo, and I don't know what it is about Frodo that I'm not vibing with. But there's something where I know here's just this innocent little dude thrust into this crazy situation. There's a bunch of action heroes around him. He's just the little dude that needs to get the things done, right? And he's had all his character moments, and he has all this stuff. We get to this point, and I'm just like, I don't believe that you're going to survive by yourself. I don't believe this. And him, like, this whole moment, it makes sense. But there's just something about looking at this little bitch's face that I'm like, I don't know about you, Elijah Wood. I don't know. Nick Scarpino.
Tim, do you think it's because you're 6'1" and you hate people who are shorter than you? That's why one day Andy, me, and Kevin will uprise against you.
Just to be clear, he is 6 feet tall, not 6'1".
Thank you, Kevin.
I do want somebody to Photoshop Tim as Boromir and me, Nick, and Kevin as hobbits, kind of giggling and fighting with him.
And can I throw one out there too? Can we put Elise in the background as Legolas? Thank you.
Okay.
That's really good.
We're walking on the snow.
Just walking. There's no snow in the seat at all. I just know Elise is back there walking.
Would you say Legolas?
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
That is amazing.
This is why they have more subscribers than us, Tim. Because of gold like that. Or, I'm sorry, mithril like that. Yeah. Of course, before they get a chance to really say their goodbyes, Sting starts glowing blue as orcs approach, and Aragorn tells Frodo to run. When he turns around, he sees upwards of 1,000 orcs right behind him. And I'm like, wow, these things are stealthy. And he goes, instead of running away, what does he do, Andy? He fucking salutes them. And then just wades right into the horde.
Let's fucking fight.
Bring it on.
Bro. Of course, Lutz screams to the horde to find the halflings as the rest of the fellowship join into the fight. Merry and Pippin spot Frodo and call him over, but he refuses. He has to leave. And they're like, and Pippin's like, what's he doing? And Merry's like, shit, he's leaving. As orcs approach, Merry and Pippin run a diversion so Frodo can escape. Surrounded, what do they call them? Halflings are screwed until 006 gets off his ass and joins the fight.
They also added that from because the book didn't have really a farewell to Merry and Pippin. Like, Frodo didn't tell them bye, and they were like, we just kind of felt like it was the right thing to do for him to tell Merry and Pippin goodbye. It just felt like
that's the correct
thing to have him.
I like that. That's nice. Also Legolas comes in and just starts this is the best scene in the whole movie for me for Legolas. There's a moment where there's like 15 people coming at him and he's just drawing the bow headshot. Not like no sweat. Maybe thinking about what he's going to do later. Maybe Starbucks is still open. I'll go by and get a venti. You know what I'm talking about, Andy?
Yeah.
Just headshot.
Of course. I do like that. That it's just a static shot. There's no
movement.
They just chose to have a still shot of him doing that, and I like even the one detail of him like obviously just headshot, and there's one of them where he kind of like leads a bit and then shoots. Like it's just he's so cool, dude.
It's like when I watch you play Apex or Call of Duty, man. That's why last night I tried to download it and it said that the file size was too large, and I'm like, I don't understand. I have 100 gigs left, and apparently it's a known thing. I'll have to talk to you about later.
Such a big file, yeah.
Why is it so big?
I don't know.
Maybe I shouldn't re-download GTA 5. Anyway, summoning one. Let's see. The horn of Gondor sounds, and we get a really cool overhead wire cam shot of the action as we're kind of going through the forest. Outnumbered, Boromir and the hobbits retreat. Lutz spots them and shoots a very large arrow into Boromir's heart, but he fights on until another one puts him down on his knees, summoning one last burst of courage. He gets up to his feet and hacks 2 more orcs down before a third arrow from Lutz shoots right into him, and it stays his sword for good. Merry and Pippin, of course, try their best to fight off the rest of the horde, but are taken with ease as Lurtz shoots arrows at, aims an arrow
and
right.
Nick,
Go for
Sorry,
it.
if I may, can I just say that moment when Merry and Pippin realize what's happened, that Boromir, their wrestle buddy's been downed, and then that look on that shock and dismay on their faces, and then switch, and their immediate reaction is, "Fuck these guys, we're going, we're fighting back." And I mean, obviously they have no recourse here because they're so little, but like that's the heart of the Fellowship in these characters.
Yeah.
And I love the way this scene's choreographed too, because the horde kind of grabs the halflings and following orders instead of screwing around. They're like, we got the 2 of them. This clearly is as many as there are. Let's just bang out. And the only person left behind, of course, is Lurtz, who takes his arrow out and just point blank draws it back.
Scary. It's such a scary shot.
Boromir's head, and I'd be like, "Hey, I know that's a shot, but like, I don't want that close to my head."
It's also the sound design is so good of the bow being drawn and how like it just sounds so violent. You know, it's
so
awesome.
Good. Of course, a split second before he can let it loose, Aragorn tackles him to the ground, and they get it on until Aragorn's like, "I'm gonna cut your arm off." Oh, that didn't do it. Now I'm gonna cut your head off, son.
We would always make jokes. At least we would always make jokes with my friends and I back home that when Lurtz does that it's like Stone Cold when he's like looking at somebody and doing the double fingers.
That was Lurtz giving him the stunner.
Yeah.
Of course, Aragorn goes to Boromir's aid, or to his side.
Oh yeah, wait, hold on. Wasted bandwidth. The knife throw deflection.
Oh, we gotta talk about that.
Yeah, real life. Like they threw a knife at Aragorn and he fucking hit the shit out of it.
They were supposed to throw it like to the side of him or whatever, past him, but their aim missed and they threw it right at him. And Viggo Mortensen just straight up like timed it and hit it away.
That is the coolest thing anyone's ever done.
So
that
fucking
awesome.
Sick. Yeah. So I just cool. Like all of this is just so good, man. It's awesome.
Boromir confesses to Aragorn, of course, that he tried to take the ring from Frodo and asks for forgiveness, but Aragorn tells him that he fought bravely and has kept his honor. And as Boromir dies, Aragorn swears he will not let the White City fall. He will not fail their people. And he places Boromir's sword. I love this moment. He places his sword in his hand and like puts it on his chest as Boromir dies. He says, "I would have followed you, my brother, my captain, my king." And with that, Boromir passes. And Andy, let's see. Put it on the polls. Boromir, best death ever? Question mark.
Whew, it's up there, bro.
It's definitely up there. We all knew it was going to happen though, because we can't have 2 sword dudes.
Yeah.
Dude, the moment they introduced it, it was like my sword and my axe and my bow. It's like, what about this guy?
This
guy?
He was supposed to be the weakness of men, and what's his face is the strength of men. You know, that contrast.
Yeah,
and you can't go into a fight with a weakness. You got to get rid of that shit.
So good.
Very true. Very true. We catch up with Frodo, who is now standing at the edge of a lake, and he gets in a little boat and starts waiting out there as the words of Gandalf echo in his brain. All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you. And he summons the courage and makes his choice, placing the ring in his pocket. He takes off on one of the boats. Of course, moments later, Sam hits the shoreline and calls after Fredo, to which Fredo says, "Go back, Sam."
Oh, no. Hey, Fredo, what's up, bro?
Fredo? I'm so sorry.
The chat is telling me that I'm an asshole, and I will fully admit when I am an asshole, because they're saying he's the shield, and he did have a dope-ass fucking shield. So there you go. Mm-hmm. I'll give you all credit. You're right. I'm wrong.
Wait, what?
That's cool as hell. Boromir had that dope shield.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm attributing this sword world to him that he didn't even want to take on. He's the shield guy. Good for you, Boromir.
Nobody wants.
Funny, you don't see him use the shield much, you know.
You don't.
Maybe once.
Maybe he might have lived. Good way to stop arrows. Shield.
So Frodo screams back at Sam, says, "Go back, Sam. I'm going to Mordor alone." And Sam responds, "Of course you are, and I'm coming with you." And I love that. I love that line. Sam wades out into the water, despite not being able to swim, and sinks to the bottom of the lake like a sack of rocks with no other
Or
choice.
potatoes. Perhaps,
That's a good point. Or carrots,
maybe.
as we saw.
Well, no, it's a reference, but go on, please.
Was there a potatoes reference? I don't remember. That didn't make sense.
Potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a soup.
They eat potatoes. They're really into it.
Anyway.
Let's see. With no other choice, of course, Fredo is like
Frodo.
Sorry. Now it's stuck in my brain.
It's like, I never know if he's fucking with us or not.
I'm really not. But if I call him Fredo from now on, it's definitely a choice. Frodo, of course, seeing no other options, takes all of his clothes off at Tim, and you're right. He just dives into the water because, as we saw in the way this was filmed, Sam is sitting on the bottom of the lake looking up, and a hand comes down to grab him, and he grabs it, and then it's a cut. And Frodo hasn't left the boat.
He's in the boat, and he's a little dude. Remember, these are little dudes, so it's like I just don't understand this. Like, why even put him in the water to begin with? Like, it's literally like, I would die for you. I'm gonna fucking prove it.
It's fake conflict. Yeah, it's really silly looking.
It's dumb. But anyway, when he gets into the boat, Sam tells him, I made a promise. Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee, and I don't mean to. And then they hug, and Frodo gives in. He says, dude, this dude is serious. Maybe I should let him come with me, because let's be honest, maybe he has some of that yummy elvish pita bread left, if you know what I'm talking about, Andy. Didn't that stuff look pretty good?
Lembas bread?
What?
Exactly.
You're just being on the surface, right? There's no
there's no pita bread. I mean, the pita bread would have been soaked in the water anyway. It's probably useless by now.
No, they have
it was wrapped in the leaves. It was
they definitely have lembas bread. Yeah.
As they reach the end of the shore, the rest of the Fellowship catches up with them. Legolas wants to go after Frodo and Sam, but Aragorn stops him. And Gimli is like, shit. I wonder if all of this has been in vain. But Aragorn tells him that they have to go. He's like, we still got to go after Merry and Pippin's lame asses, because we got to have something else to do for the next 2 movies. We travel light. Let us hunt some orcs.
Oh man,
and
that
Sam
fucking line, like, that gets me so pumped up. Let's hunt some orc, and then Gimli's like, yeah, like, it's just so fucking sick, dude.
And then Gimli, in the back of Gimli's mind, he's like, God, I hope we don't get any more human-sized stairs, because they're so hard to climb.
Yeah.
They're just so hard to climb. Over on the other side of the world, Sam and Frodo spot the border to Mordor, I assume. Frodo doesn't suppose they'll ever see the Fellowship again, but Sam's like, yo, maybe let's be a little bit more optimistic than that. We only lost 2 people so far. 2 out of 9 ain't bad for a 4-hour movie. And as they set off for the next chapter of their journey, Frodo places his hand on Sam's shoulder and tells his old friend that he's glad Sam came with him. The end of the movie and the beginning of 27 minutes of credits. Mm-hmm. Which I don't know why there's that much credits. Andy, can anyone?
Tim said.
I told you last week. It's because the extended editions were like supported or whatever by the Lord of the Rings fan club. So all the members, it's kind of like Patreon shout outs.
Got it. Maybe they have more patrons than we do, because I was like, oh my god, this movie is another 30 minutes.
100% have more.
Like, they probably do. Yeah. While watching the making of, I just wanted to mention some cool stuff that, like, Christopher Lee, who apparently who read The Lord of the Rings every year. He would read all the books once a year just because he was that big of a fan. And he was just like hoping and praying that before he died, a Lord of the Rings movie would be made. So he was just like so stoked to be a part of the cast, or whatever. And he was always like correcting Peter Jackson on certain lines and certain Elvish tongue and all this shit. And he did in the documentary, he's like talking in camera in the different like languages and shit. He's insane. He was insane.
Do you think he wanted to be Gandalf though?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
He did, and he said that he said that Tolkien had wanted him to be Gandalf, and at the reunion that just happened, obviously, like,
Christopher Lee died. Yeah,
he's passed away. But Ian McKellen tells the story about their first meeting, and Christopher Lee says, he wanted me to be Gandalf, and then he's like, after that, we were fast friends.
Yeah, so awesome.
But
that is like being able to come up there and be like, hey, the guy wanted me to do this, right?
Yeah.
There's a really funny scene where he's getting super pissed off, where he's back before he like sends Gandalf to the ceiling of his little house or his a fucked up castle tower, but he's trying to walk up the stairs, and his coat, his fucking robe keeps getting in the way. He keeps stepping on it, and there's an off camera like filming the shot of them, and he's like, I can't get up the damn stairs. I keep stepping on this thing. And they cut to him, and in the behind the scenes, he's like, yeah, I kept getting mad because I kept stepping on the robe. And I said, I can't do it. And then Peter Jackson said, well, you did it earlier. He was like, and that put me in my place. Yeah. It's like, fuck yeah.
God bless them. They're so cheeky.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Andy, hit me with a little bit of that haiku in review.
7 syllables in the middle. You'll need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme. Haiku in review. Haiku in review. It's so hard to do that when I hear Tim 2 milliseconds later saying it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny to write your reviews in haiku form, just like Julian, the gluten-free gamer, did. He closes his hand. I'd go with you to the end. Until next time, friend. Boom. Kebab says, Balrog shall not pass. The Fellowship kicks some ass. Sam's poetry sucks.
It does, yeah.
Daniel Edmond says, the ring was too much. It corrupts with just a touch. Aragorn is clutch. Gavin C says, no gift could compare to a strand of golden hair. Or 3, to be fair.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
And finally, Nat Vu says, thought-provoking film. You never go ass to mouth, but sometimes you do.
It's good. It's really good.
Doing a Clerks 2 reference. Got it.
I think that was a Clerks 2 review. I just wanted to read it here. Ragu Bagu, baby.
Ragu. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rad Guys Talk Bad Guys, Lord of the Rings edition. I guess this is the first time we've done this. So who do we think is the bad guy of the Fellowship of the Ring?
I feel like in this movie, the orcs play like they're the main antagonist that they're constantly chasing everyone away.
Who's the main one?
Saruman,
Captain
Lutz.
Lurtz, yeah.
Lurtz.
Well, don't forget that we have the first part of this movie too, where Saruman like imprisoned Gandalf and all that stuff. So I would say he's the bad guy.
I think we're saying for the half.
The
Yeah,
Balrog as well.
Balrog, so Saruman. See, again, I don't think the Balrog was a bad guy. I think, to Tim's point earlier, the trolls, the Balrogs, they're all just hanging out, and people keep coming into their house and like, we don't like you people. Get out of here. This is my house.
But I feel like the orcs are for sure bad guys. Like they are like not being forced to do it. They're just down for the cause.
But I feel like you can't put the orcs down without putting the person who's engaged them into battle.
But I feel like he plays a bigger part in
Chitauri and not Tom Hiddleston being the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I feel like we had way more Toms. So yeah, I guess it must be Saruman. All right, cool, whatever.
I'll say Saruman and his army,
Lurch or whatever the fuck his name is too.
Saruman and Lurtz and the bad guys. I mean, they're number 1, I guess.
There it is. Number 1.
There it is. Andy, your time has come for the new segment that we're just going to call MVP.
Oh, this is a new segment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Come up with a song on the spot.
The MVP, a Lord of the Rings. Who's the best? Better than the rest. The MVP, a Lord of the Rings. Who's the best? Is better than the rest. There you go.
Good job, Andy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the MVP of Lord of the Rings. Who do we want to be the best of this movie? I said Legolas, and then, of course, as Kevin astutely pointed out, we're both wrong. Maybe it should be Gandalf for this because he did, in fact, give his life for the Fellowship.
But he was always very vague. He could have been more clear about the stuff.
But knowing there's a giant fire demon in the caves will not make anyone more motivated to go through the caves. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I feel like he was making the smart choice of like, let's just go, but like fucking nobody make a sound. Everyone be cool about being absolutely silent.
Yeah, you got to assume he was also like, maybe we just don't see the Balrog. Maybe.
Dude, they got so close. They got so close.
Yeah. I'll ask for forgiveness later instead of, or you know what I mean? That whole apology, forgiveness later sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Tim?
Yeah. I mean, Legolas is just so fucking cool. Legolas makes me feel like I'm a 10-year-old boy watching a movie where I'm like, I want his action figure. He's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
but I feel like that there's too much bias there. I don't know that he is the MVP of this movie.
Legolas or Gandalf?
Cool as shit. Legolas. Gandalf. I feel like Gandalf, they're trying to make me think he is. You know what I mean? They're trying to give him that credit, but there's something about, I'm going to go Aragorn. I'm going to go in Aragorn.
Yeah,
I like
you are,
Aragorn.
dude. The
Because
fucking king.
from the moment he's introduced as Strider and all this shit, he's the fucking leader. Like, you can tell. And like, that's super cool that 4.5 hours into a movie, they introduced this character, and I believe he's the leader.
Well, they introduced him way earlier than that, but like I feel like you're making a lot of sense that like from the first moment we see him, he's the dude that comes in and picks up where Gandalf dropped the ball being captured. You know what I mean? Like if he hadn't gotten there, the wraiths would have for sure killed everyone, right?
Let's take a vote right now. Let's take a vote right now. Who thinks Aragorn is the MVP of Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring? Tim and Kevin. Who thinks that?
Andy.
Andy, where are we at?
Come on, Andy, you know it. You feel it. I think isn't it?
Who thinks that Legolas is the MVP of Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring? No one votes for Legolas. Who thinks that Gandalf, who sacrificed himself on the bridge and says, "You shall not pass," is the MVP of Lord of the Rings?
I'll vote with Lisa and Nick.
Can you vote for two?
Gandalf.
No, final vote went Gandalf. So
Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah, Kevin, I had 40% of the vote for Aragorn and 60% for Gandalf.
Okay.
There it is.
All right.
It was a close
All
one. And then
there's no reason to vote. This is
Fellowship number one, definitely. We will return next week, Tuesday, to close out Kevin Smith's View Askew universe.
Wait, real quick. Did you like the first half or the second half more?
I honestly
think it's all great.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Consistent, yeah. Which is surprising. Like I said earlier, it's like I feel like there's just so many different arcs that are completed, and it's really satisfying. But to continue that, next Friday we are doing Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, Part 1. That you can find the exact numbers and times of all that stuff in the post that Joey posted on Twitter and Patreon. Until then, though,
fly, you fools!
Wait. Tim,
fucking shit.
What's up?
Well, sorry, we have a video from Andrea.
Oh, we do.
Andrea.
We're gonna leave, and then Andrea Renee has sent in her second video. She's gonna do this for every episode. So
we love you, Andrea. Go follow What's Good Games.
Much. Also, it's John Drake's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, John!
Actually, it would probably be a lot easier for me to just pull it up here. So I think I'm gonna do that.
Do it. Do whatever you need to do, big dog.
Hold on.
So excited for next week. So excited for
I
2
can't
Towers.
wait. It's been really difficult to watch these so split up.
Bam,
but ultimately, the right decision, because
I think so too.
It's a lot of movie, yeah. What the heck?
Yeah, it's a lot of movie. It's definitely a lot of movie. And also, we can't be doing this for 4 hours every day.
Yeah, totally. All right, here goes.
What's good, kind of funny? Andrea Renee here. I am back with another Hobbits Bean Hobbity moment for the Lord of the Rings in review for the Fellowship of the Ring Part 2. So last week we talked about Weathertop, and this week I want to talk about the Mines of Moria. You know where this is going already, don't you? So the Fellowship enters the mines against all better judgment, and I don't blame them. It's pretty nasty in there. And they make their way into a room called the Chamber of Marzabal. This is where Balin's tomb is. You hear Gimli call out about Balin. But just as a refresher, it's this guy from The Hobbit. Yeah, that guy. He was pretty cool, right? It's all coming back to you now. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. That's the guy who's dead there. Bummer, isn't it? Well, it gets worse because the Fellowship decides that they're going to explore the tomb a little bit and try to figure out what happened to Balin and his comrades. Gandalf is reading the Book of Marzabal, which is basically a giant diary of what happened to Balin and his whole crew, when Peregrine Took, Pippin, that fool of a Took, has to go and touch the skeleton on the edge of the well and knock it down in there and alert every single orc in Moria that they're there. I remember watching this in the movie theater for the very first time and being furious at Pippin about this moment. I was so mad at him. I was like, why can't you just keep your little grubby paws to yourself? But it kickstarts one of the most cinematic and amazing sequences in the entire film trilogy, and ultimately ends with Gandalf facing off against a Balrog, which is chef's kiss. So awesome. Okay, I'm going to try not to nerd out, but The reason I wanted to pick this for my kind of hobbits being hobbits moment is because it's not funny so much as it is infuriating, which I feel like sums up the Venn diagram overlap of hobbits of incredibly hilarious and incredibly infuriating. I mean, they're also brave and kind and, adventurous and a bunch of other things too, but we'll get to those in later segments. I hope you guys enjoyed this moment from The Fellowship of the Ring Part 2, and I'll see you guys next week for my favorite film, The Two Towers.
Do I end it now? I slacked you, but you didn't.
Yes.
All right. See you guys later.
Cool.